Merry Christmas, everybody! My name's Professor Scalar, and I hope you're all having a wonderful Christmas day. If you don't celebrate Christmas, then happy holidays to you. I was thinking of singing a Christmas intro to go with this video, something along the lines of, on the first day of Christmas, Professor gave to me a guide on R4A3. But then I remembered that I can't sing worth a dime. So instead, I hope you're all satisfied with a regular intro to go with your R4A3 Christmas guide present. Wait, what do you mean today's not Christmas? Isn't it December 25th? It's December 27th? I'm late for Christmas Day? Well, it might not be Christmas Day anymore, but I suppose we could still consider this a Christmas gift. Better late than never, after all. But before we get into the R4A3 guide, I want to talk about the new weapon and tool that we got with the Rundown 4 extension, starting off with the Revolver. This thing has quickly become my favorite primary weapon to use. It's quite similar to the Revolver, but it also has quite a few differences, so it doesn't just feel like a copy and paste weaker version of it. First of all, this is a primary weapon, so you won't be one-tapping enemies like you can with the regular Revolver. To make up for this though, the Revolver has a total of 8 bullets in the magazine, and has a piercing effect added to it. If you can line up enemies in a straight line, you can shred through them like butter with this gun, especially if you land those headshots. However, the Revolver's reload is a bit on the slower side of things, and it does have low ammo capacity compared to other primary weapons. Even if you land headshots with it, you can only get about 4 kills before reloading, unless you take advantage of the piercing effect. Combine this with a secondary weapon like the Revolver, pump action shotgun, or choke mod shotgun, and you don't really get that many shots before you have to completely reload everything. If you're using the Revolver, I'd recommend taking a secondary weapon that has a decent amount of ammo per mag, or just make sure that you're confident in landing those headshots so you're not just killing a few enemies before you have to reload everything. Next up, we have the Sniper Sentry. This thing is incredibly powerful if used in the right situation. It has enough damage to one-shot regular enemies and even 2-taps big strikers and hybrids if it shoots them from behind. One use of tool refill gives the Sentry around 8 shots, which can roughly translate into 8 kills per use of tool refill. The Sniper Sentry has very good range and accuracy, so it can very easily kill enemies who are far away without wasting precious bullets. And this is probably the best Sentry to date or to deal with big strikers and hybrids, big shooters, or just any other enemy in the game that has a ton of HP that the Burst Sentry and Auto Sentry just can't deal with very effectively. But of course, as all things, this gun does have a weakness. The Sniper Sentry is next to useless unless you can keep enemies within its line of sight for a decent amount of time. Unlike the Burst Sentry or the Auto Sentry, the Sniper Sentry has a charge-up time. Once it detects an enemy, it takes a full 4 seconds for the first bullet to be fired, and every shot afterwards takes 2 seconds. If this Sentry loses line of sight of enemies for even half of a second, it will go back into idle mode and it will need to charge up again another 4 seconds once it detects an enemy. Because of this, Sniper Sentry should not be your go-to Sentry for every single job. Only take these if you know if a level is well designed for the Sniper Sentry, or if you have a Burst or Auto Sentry to go with it to make up for the Sniper Sentry's low rate of fire. The Auto Sentry is quite nice when paired with the Sniper Sentry, as it staggers enemies and keeps them in firing range for the Sniper Sentry for much longer. In future guides, I will try to make notes of when it is a good or bad idea to bring in a Sniper Sentry. As a general rule of thumb though, if you're only bringing in one Sentry, I would recommend you do not take the Sniper Sentry in and instead bring in a Burst or Auto. If you're taking more than one Sentry though, try to make sure that at least one of them is a Sniper Sentry, because this thing has so much firepower, it will make security doors and other situations so much easier. With all that being said, let's now get into R4A3 and start discussing this level specifically. For this level, I would highly recommend you take a bio tracker, a mine deployer, and then 2 sentries of your choice. I would probably default to 1 sniper and 1 auto sentry, but any combination would work just as good. If you are not doing the extreme or the overload objective, you could probably replace the biotracker or mine deployer, or if you really wanted to, replace both of them with 2 more sentries. The mine deployer and biotracker are mostly useful for when you do the extreme and the overload objective, and not so much on the main objective. The main objective only requires you to go through 2 alarm doors, and one of which you can't really use mines super effectively on, so having 4 sentries instead for the raw firepower is a very good option. No matter which routes you take and which objectives you do though, I would not recommend a seafoam launcher. This level will give you quite a few seafoam grenades and seafoam trip mines, and those alone will be enough to handle any moments when you would actually want to use seafoam. The main objective for R4A3 is pretty simple and there's really not too much to it. All you have to do is clear a path to the forward extraction in Zone 30, which just simply means get to Zone 30 and get in that extraction scan. And to make things even easier, the game starts you off in Zone 27, so you're really not that far away from it. Zone 27 doesn't have anything really important inside it, except for the bulkhead door control, the 2 bulkhead doors that lead to the main objective and the extreme objective, and a security door that leads to Zone 28. Your first bulkhead key will always be inside Zone 28, so you're going to need to go through there to grab that. However, it's pretty simple, not too difficult. The security door to Zone 28 is a basic security scan, so no alarm. And while there are quite a few enemies in Zone 28 as well as a scout, it's really not too difficult to get through there without setting off the enemies. Once you've collected the bulkhead key and all your resources, you can head back to Zone 27, put that in the door control, and then make the choice of whether you want to stick with the main objective, or take a little bit of a detour and see what the extreme bulkhead has in store for you. If you're only interested in the main objective and you don't care to see what's behind the extreme door or get any information on it, skip to the timestamp that you see on screen. There you'll meet up with me again and we'll continue talking about Zone 29, how you get into it, and how to complete the rest of the level. The rest of you though who want to stick around, meet me down by the extreme bulkhead door and we'll start discussing what's behind there. The extreme bulkhead door to Zone 145 has no alarm on it and not even a full team security scan, just a simple open the door and you're in. However, that's probably going to be the easiest thing to do with this sector. You'll see that your optional objective is to collect 5 OSIPs, and there's a total of 7 of them in these 3 zones back here. Now walking in, you're going to notice that you can't see anything. Zone 145 is pitch black, has a ton of enemies and multiple scouts in it, usually around 2, sometimes even 3. This is why I highly recommend the biotracker. It will make it much easier and safer to go through these zones and clear out enemies and the scouts without having to worry about setting them off accidentally. Also, if you found a long-range flashlight or some glow sticks from earlier, I would highly recommend using them. Yes, the flashlight could set off enemies, but it will make finding lockers and boxes much easier once you've cleared out all of the enemies. Now in Zone 145, you're going to find your second bulkhead key and 2 colored key cards. These key cards will get you into Zone 146 and 147. However, you only need to go into one of them. Zone 145 will always have 2 of the OSIPs. Then 146 and 147 will have the last 5. One of them having 2, one of them having 3. So you just need to go into the one that has 3 in it. If you're having difficulty finding resources, use the terminal located in Zone 145 to find everything, because there are many small rooms down to the south and it can be a little bit difficult to find those resource boxes in the dark. Once you've collected everything from Zone 145, you can head off to the far west room and get ready to do the alarm door to get into 146 or 147. Both of these doors share the same room and they're both class 4 alarm doors, so the way you prepare for them will be the exact same no matter which one you have to go for. Let's take a quick look at the map overlay. As you can see, there's only one room that these enemies can actually spawn in. However, it's a pretty big room and depending on which half they spawn on will determine which one of the first 2 doors they'll go for. The 2 yellow ones anyway. However, this doesn't really matter too much, as no matter which one of those 2 doors they take, they will all have to go for this one central door here, the red one. So set up your defenses on this. You should have a seafoam grenade or some seafoam trip mines by now, so you should be able to easily place your turrets outside of it, mine the door a little bit, and seafoam the door. One seafoam grenade is all you need to keep this door shut long enough for you to finish all of the scans. Once you have finished this door completely, you can head into Zone 146 or 147. Zone 146 and 147 are basically the same as Zone 145. Pitch black, tons of enemies, even more scouts, and the last of the OSIPs that you're going to need to complete the extreme objective. My recommendation for just dealing with these zones in general is just be very cautious and take things slow. Don't just walk up to an enemy and melee it immediately. Look around and make sure that there's nothing else nearby that might get set off if you do go for that melee swing. And if you do end up setting off an entire room, fall back to a place with some lighting. The room in 145 that's connected to 146 and 147 does have some lighting near the door, so you can use that. Or you can run all the way back to zone 27 to get back into a fully lit zone and have an easier time with dealing with the enemies. Do be careful of the big strikers, as they are much more difficult to see in the darkness and they will very easily kill you if you're not careful. Once you have all 5 of the OSIPs though, all of your resources and your second bulkhead key, you can head back to zone 27 and get ready to continue on with the main objective leading to zone 29. Continuing on from where we left off, we're heading to the eastern bulkhead door that leads to zone 29. This bulkhead door has a class 3 alarm on it, so once again let's pull up our map overlay to see what we have to deal with. There are only 2 entrances to the room that you're in. However, the northernmost entrance will never be touched as long as both doors are kept shut. If this door is broken open or you leave it open on purpose, they will path to it, but if it is shut, they will always take the southernmost door as it is the faster route. Place down a few sentries, some mines, and it should be pretty easy to deal with. It's only a class 3 alarm. If you want to seafoam the door, you can, although I would recommend holding off until later, especially if you are doing the overload objective. If you're not doing the overload objective though, then go on ahead and seafoam this, as this is probably the last useful point seafoam will have. Once you have finished this alarm, you can head inside of zone 29. Zone 29 is pretty similar to zone 27. You're going to have a bulkhead door control, 2 bulkhead doors, one leading to the overload objective and one continue on with the main objective, and a basic security door which leads to zone 31, which is a resource room. Now this time the bulkhead key is located inside zone 29 with you, so if you just want to do the main objective and not touch overload or even touch the resource room, you could do that. If you've been playing safely up to this point, you should have plenty of resources on you to do the class 4 alarm that's attached to the bulkhead door to zone 30. And there's only one entrance to the room that they can come through. However, if you want to do the overload objective, I would highly recommend you do the resource room, as it will give you plenty of resources to help you out with everything you have to do down there. Now, either way, even if you do or don't do the overload objective, if you do go into the resource room, there's an important note. First of all, keep in mind that this will open up a new spawn location for enemies when you do the bulkhead door to zone 30, so you do need to be cautious of that. Also, if you do go in there, keep these 3 doors here that you see on the map, keep these opened at all times. These doors can be used to buy you even more time when you do the class 4 alarm door that leads to zone 30. So I recommend keep these open until you're ready to do that alarm and then go and shut them right before you initiate the alarm. That way they will be preserved no matter what. Just like earlier, if you only care about the main objective and you do not care about the overload objective whatsoever, skip to the timestamp on screen. Here we will continue talking about how you can deal with the class 4 alarm and how you can finish the rest of the level. The rest of you though, come join me down south on that other bulkhead door and we can talk about the overload objective and how you can deal with this one a bit easier. The overload bulkhead door will lead you to zone 195, but to open it, you're gonna have to activate an error alarm, which you know what that means. Time to split up into 2 teams of 2, your attackers and your defenders, BioTracker being on the attacker team. If you did not open up the resource room, enemies will only spawn from the west, but if you did open it up, they spawn up there as well. And this is why I said you should leave the 3 doors up there open if you do open up that zone. If you kept them shut, the error alarm enemies could spawn behind them and break down those doors, and you won't have them for when you have to deal with the class 4 alarm on the bulkhead door to zone 30. Now going into zone 195, immediately you're going to see that there are going to be 2 scouts in the long rectangular room. Top priority is to get rid of them ASAP so they don't get set off by either the air alarm enemies or just other enemies in that room if you accidentally set them off when trying to kill them. You'll notice that the objective for the overload zone is to find a terminal and use a floodgate open command on it. This terminal will always be located in zone 197 and it will always be the same terminal, so your top priority is to get back there so you can actually access it. The security door between 195 and 196 though is a class 4 alarm door that is also a blood door, so you're going to be dealing with the class 4 alarm door first. This alarm door is a perfect example of why I say you should not always just take a sniper sentry blindly because they might not always be useful. This room is long and rectangular, yes. However, there's a bunch of stuff in the middle of it that will block the line of sight of the sniper sentry. So no matter where you put it in this room, it's not really going to have enough time to actually shoot enemies before they get past it and get out of line of sight. This is why auto sentries and burst sentries should still be used, because they will actually be very useful here. Let's take a quick look at the map overlay so you understand how this alarm door is going to work. As you can see, enemies are going to be spawning very far away from you. And no matter where they spawn, you don't have a single door you can shut to buy yourself time. Now, this isn't too bad since it will take them a while to get here, but this does mean you're going to get a lot of enemies on top of you when you're almost done with the scans, so do be careful and make sure your biotracker person is paying attention to that. That way you're prepared and they don't ambush you because you're not paying attention. Once you finish this alarm door, you can then prepare for the blood door portion. Mines are going to be very useful here, especially because you have a wall facing directly towards the blood door that will decimate pretty much everything behind it. I would say place probably 3 mines on the wall facing towards the door, then 1 mine parallel with the door, and then you should be good. Your sentries I would bring back with you though, because I would recommend running back into zone 29 and having the sentries positioned so they can shoot enemies as they come through the bulkhead door. This blood door tends to have quite a few hybrids, usually around 4 or 5, so don't underestimate it. Once you've cleared this out though, you can then head into zone 196 and all 4 of you will be heading in there together. Zone 196 only will consist of 2 rooms, one of which should already be empty because of the blood door, which is why I say all of you should move together, that way you can just clear this out as fast as you can. Of course, your defender is still defending you from behind and keeping an eye on enemies when they come for you. At the end of zone 196 you will find a basic security door that just requires a full team scan. When you open up this security door, I highly recommend all 4 people move in together again. However, your defender should stay near the security door. The reason for this is because zone 197 also only consists of 2 rooms. However, these rooms are much longer and bigger. You do not want the air alarm wave to spawn in that final room in the back, because then they're going to break down a door that will be very valuable for you later. But if all 4 of you are standing inside of zone 197, there is no chance of the air alarm enemy spawning back there, and instead they will always spawn in the first room of zone 196. When you see them spawn in and come towards you, your defenders can walk out of 197 and kill them easily and then walk back into 197 to make sure that the next wave will still spawn back in 196. 197 though is a bit dangerous to go through. It is quite foggy, you're going to have a lot of enemies, potentially another scout, and you could also have sleeping hybrids in here. If you do have sleeping hybrids, I recommend trying to kill everything else in the room first and then either having your defenders come up and help you quickly, or just use your guns to kill them while they're still asleep. Once you have finished this entire room, you can then enter into the back room, which will have more enemies, maybe even another scout, and a ton of big strikers and big shooters, and even more hybrids potentially. Clear out this room the best you can. At this point, your defenders can just come up and help you clear out that room as well, since you don't have to worry about potential doors being broken down that you need to save. And once you've cleared out every single enemy, grab all the resources throughout the zone. You will find your 4th and final bulkhead key somewhere inside zone 197, as well as a few resources. In the back, you will find your command terminal. The floodgate command is quite a long one, but as always you could just type F and then hit tab and it will auto-complete the entire command. Once you do it, hit enter and a full team scan will appear. Do not completely finish this full team scan. Get it up to about 90% maybe and then get out of it, because now you need to prepare. When you finish that full team scan, it's going to cause 2 waves of nothing but giant strikers and hybrids to spawn in back in zone 196, and they're going to come straight for you. The best way to handle this is to use the one and only door to that room as a funnel point. Put your sentries on the opposite side facing towards the door, then place a few mines on the door and C-foam it shut. That way big dudes will get stuck at it, they'll have to bang it down, and the sniper, especially a sniper sentry, will make quick work of them. However, before you place down the mines and C-foam the door, I recommend let an error wave spawn in, let it come to you, kill the 3 enemies, and then after you kill them, quickly shut the door, place down the mines and C-foam it, and then finish the last 10% of that full team scan you need to do. Then you just need to hold out in that room. The sentries will do quite a bit of damage to these enemies, and the mines will definitely deal quite a bit of damage to them once they finally break through, but because of the sheer amount of them that you will have to face, you will probably have to shoot them and kill the last few by yourself. Once you are sure there are no more big strikers or hybrids coming after you, you can run all the way back to zone 29 and put the bulkhead key into the door control and get ready to deal with the final class 4 alarm that leads to zone 30. Back in zone 29, all that's standing in between you and the extraction scan is a bulkhead door that has a class 4 alarm on it. Now, if you did or did not do the overload objective in the resource room, can change up how you're going to want to prepare for this. Let's look at a map overlay for a situation where everything is open and you're basically running prisoner efficiency. As you can see, they can spawn from all 3 directions. If they spawn from the south or the west, there's really nothing you can do to buy yourself more time. There are either no doors to shut, or any doors you could have shut have already been broken down because of previous alarms. However, the 3 doors in the resource room can be used here. If you did the overload objective, you have an error alarm going off right now, so I would recommend killing a wave before you shut those doors. If you have mines or C-foam grenades, use them on those doors. In your sentries, I would say either keep them on you so you can place them on the ground while you're doing the big red scans, since those take longer and they can shoot enemies that are approaching you, or place them at one of the 3 entrances to the room, that way they shoot enemies as they come into zone 29. The scans like to go up, down, and all around the room, but as long as you're communicating with your team, you're running around kiting enemies, and you're good with your shots, it should be no issue for you to complete. Once you have finished the alarm door, you can go on ahead and open up the bulkhead door. There's no surprise mechanic left, just the last of the enemies are coming after you, and the error alarm enemies are still coming after you because of the overload bulkhead door, but that's nothing too difficult to defend against. Go into zone 30, get on the extraction scan, place down your turrets, and just hold out there until you get that scan all the way up to 100%. And once it hits 100, you are done with R4A3. As always, if you have any tips or tricks for this level that you want to share, any questions for me, or you just have something in general that you want to say, leave it down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video and found it useful, then consider hitting that like button. It does help out the channel quite a bit, and it helps these videos get noticed by people who really need them. And if you want to become part of this community that I'm building, hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to get notified whenever I post a new video. Thank you everybody so much for 1,000 subscribers. I did not expect to hit this within the first year of me doing YouTube, but here we are. Not even 9 months since I posted my first video and I've hit 1,000 subscribers. Not think that was going to happen, so thank you very much to every single one of you. I love seeing the comments you post on the videos, the feedback, the encouraging words. It's all very nice and I truly do appreciate it. Hope you all had a very wonderful Christmas or happy holidays if you don't celebrate Christmas. And I hope you all have a wonderful New Year's. Maybe you won't be able to celebrate with the people who you want to because of everything going on right now, but hopefully you can still make it a special time, and let's look forward to 2021. Hopefully that'll be a better year for all of us. Until next time, keep on bonking, enjoy the Rundown 4 extension, and I'll see you all in the next video.